Hey everyone, welcome back to Crime Weekly News. I'm Derek Levasseur.
And I'm Stephanie Harlow.
And we have a couple things to talk about tonight. It's going to be a full packed episode. We're going to talk about Lori Vallow and her recent sentencing, which actually occurred a few hours ago. And we're also going to talk
recording July 31st, right?
That's right. And we're also going to talk about Alicia Navarro. It's two big stories in the news this week, especially when it relates to true crime. But before we get into that, just want to put a little reminder out there. We have K-Cups back in stock. We also have all our coffee in stock. So if you want to go over and check it out, just head on over to criminalcoffeeco.com. In case you don't know, Stephanie and I started a company a long time ago. I think everybody knows this by now.
I don't know.
But in case you don't know, we have a coffee company. A portion of the proceeds goes to DNA testing. We actually are still waiting to be able to announce something in regards to Preble Penny. That's a whole different story for a different day. But we're also close to the funding goal that we needed to start funding the next case. We're actually already looking at that. So if you want to help us support them, head over to criminalcoffeeco.com. Check them out. All right. You ready to dive into this? We're going to get right into it. We got a lot to cover tonight. Two different things we want to talk about. So let's start with the first one. On July 26, 2023, officials with the Glendale Police Department in Arizona announced that Alicia Navarro, who has been missing since 2019, was found 1,400 miles away in Montana. You're going to get into the details in a minute, Stephanie, but I will say this is part of the reason that we cover these cases, even though it may seem like someone maybe deceased, maybe something happened to them, and it's just a matter of time before we find their body. Although these cases aren't the norm, it does happen, and that's why we have to continue to push these cases. We have to keep the hope, because for the family members who are out there, they're hoping for this result. And I do think it's important to cover this, because there are family members out there right now who have a loved one who's missing, and cases like this give them more hope in their own cases. So it's a positive outcome. Stephanie's going to give you all the details if you haven't heard about it yet.
Yeah, so Alicia Navarro actually went missing on September 15th, 2019. At the time, she was 14 years old. I believe her 15th birthday was just 5 days away, so almost 15. And apparently how it kind of went down is she had come downstairs in the middle of the night at like 1 a.m. She was getting a glass of water, and her mother, Jessica Nunez, was still awake, and she basically asked her mother, like, why are you still awake? And then she went back upstairs and went to bed. But when her mother, Jessica, woke up the next morning at 7 a.m., she discovered that Alicia was gone. The back door was open, and her daughter had left a note saying, I ran away. I will be back. I swear. I'm sorry. And Jessica Nunez has never stopped looking for Alicia. There was billboards. You know, she's been very active. I think she did a podcast. Very active in trying to figure out what happened to Alicia. And she would always say, like, I know you're coming home. I know that you will be back. And so it's weird, because Jessica Nunez has always said over the years that her daughter Alicia, who's been diagnosed with autism, may have been lured away by someone she met online. And in my opinion, they haven't given details and confirmed that, but it does kind of feel like that's what happened. So what happened when she got found is she went to a police station in a place called Havre, I think it's called, Havre, Montana. It's a town located close to the U.S.-Canadian border. Only about 9,200 people live there. And Alicia reportedly walked into the police station there, and she said, can you remove me from the missing persons database, because I want to get a driver's license. She said she was 18 now, and she wanted to move forward with her life as an adult, and that meant getting a driver's license. And yeah, she just basically went into the police station and said, I'm Alicia Navarro, and here I am. And after being found, Glendale police spokesperson Jose Santiago told reporters, quote, she is by all accounts safe. She is by all accounts healthy, and she is by all accounts happy. She went to a local police department in that area. She identified herself as Alicia Navarro, and at that point, our officers went into investigation mode, end quote. Lieutenant Scott Waite of the Glendale Police Department said, quote, every indication she's given us so far is that she willfully left home. Now, the dynamics surrounding that decision are obviously something we're looking into, which I think it's good that he said that, because yes, she's 18 now, and she clearly did willfully leave home because she left a note and said, I'm running away. But at the same time, she was 14. So under what circumstances did she run away? If she was being lured away by some older man she met online, that's still something I think that needs to be looked into. But the interesting thing is, there's neighbors too close to where Alicia was living in Montana, and she was living in this apartment in Montana with a man who was looked to be about in his 20s. And one of their neighbors, Garrett Smith, reported hearing Alicia yelling at a man in the apartment just the day before she showed up at the police station. Garrett Smith said, quote, "I was here the other day and I heard them yelling. She did say, 'I will go back,' but that's all I heard. It was the day before she turned herself in," end quote. Garrett also said he spoke to Alicia for the first time just days before she was found. I guess he was like outside the post office and she was outside the post office, and she said she was looking for her uncle. And Garrett Smith said, quote, "She was asking for directions. She looked scared. She said she was walking with her uncle and got lost, and she's looking for 6th Street, end quote. And Garrett said it was odd for him to hear her refer to this man as her uncle because this man appeared to be in his 20s and not much older than Alicia. And Garrett Smith said, quote, "I would see both of them walking out quite often. I think I saw them holding hands once when they were leaving," end quote. And Garrett said he doesn't really know how long they've been there, and the police have not stated how long Alicia's been in Montana. But Garrett said he and his girlfriend moved in a year ago, and Alicia and this man were already there, so they've at least been in Montana for a year. Now, at this point, a man has been detained and questioned by police, and the Montana apartment that Alicia and this man were living in has been searched, but police have given no details about the search or the identity of the man. He has been released, and as of now, no arrests have been made. And law enforcement has said that Alicia is extremely apologetic for what she put her mother through, and she's asking for privacy for herself and for her family because she wants to move on with her life and do things that a normal, healthy adult would do. But still, it feels like a really weird situation because she was 14 when she left. And if she's been with this dude the whole time, that needs to be obviously addressed.
Yeah, 100%. I'm happy that she's home. I'm happy that she's okay.
Right.
It does seem like she left under her own power. But as you brought up, you have to find out the specifics of why she left. Clearly, her mother said she had autism, but I want to know more about this gentleman because clearly when she left, she had somewhere to go. And it's one of those things where we gotta understand that dynamic. What type of situation was going on there? Was it a grooming situation? Was it someone who is a younger boy who may be 15 or 16? Or was it a grown man who lured her out of the house and made her feel like there was a better place to be? Those things are going to be discovered at this point. It seems like from what I was seeing online, there was like a little FaceTime video I saw with her.
Yeah.
I don't know who. I believe she was talking to police or maybe her family. I don't know. But it seems like she's being pretty open and transparent. Depending on the relationship with this individual, she may skirt the truth a little bit to protect him. But I feel like at this point, police can start to connect the dots and figure out how this all transpired. And if charges need to be brought, they need to be brought. There's also going to be questions about statute of limitations on these charges, right? Like depending on what the crimes are, what is the statute of limitations on it? And how does that come into play considering now that she's an adult, right? All those things.
In different states too. Like she went missing from Arizona and turned up in Montana. Which statute of limitations would apply at that point?
Right. Maybe there's a federal charge. I don't know. Maybe there's something because if the gentleman was over the age of 18 and she was under and you're bringing children across state lines, there could definitely be something there that he could have some problems for sure. He's not out of the fire yet. So we'll have to see what happens. It sounds like from what you were saying that she was with this gentleman. They were in a relationship more than likely. Things got a little rocky.
I don't know. I'm not saying that because
I
don't know, but
no, not even what you're saying, but they're saying that they were holding hands and things like that.
He said he thought he saw them holding hands once, which to me, like as soon as I heard that, I was like, wait, like because you're dating somebody, you go out on walks often. Are you only holding hands once out of all those times? I don't know.
Could be because they don't know if someone's going to recognize her.
I guess.
Obviously her face was plastered all over the place.
I feel like sometimes people like to want to add
another layer to it to make it more
scintillating details. Like I'm pretty sure I saw them holding hands once. It wasn't like he was like, oh yeah, sometimes they held hands and sometimes they didn't. It was like once.
I'm sure they're going to ask her if they were sexually active, if they were in a relationship or not. And they're I don't know.
She says she wasn't harmed.
Yeah,
she never felt like she was in danger. She never felt like she couldn't leave. But still, she's got, she was in therapy. She was diagnosed with high functioning autism. She was only 14. These are things that are going to come into play when you ask yourself, like, was this young girl able to make the adult decision of leaving her home at 14 and living with somebody and having a life with somebody who I think very well could have been over the age of 18 at the time.
Yeah, and even if he wasn't over, depending on the law, even if he wasn't over the age of 18, if he's over the age of 16, there could be a situation there where if he's 16, 17.
Because how else would they get an apartment if neither one of them were 18,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if he's over a certain age and he's having sex with her, even if it's consensual on her part, she doesn't have the right to give that consent. So even though in her mind, she wasn't quote unquote harmed, based on the way the laws are written, it still may classify as a crime. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Number one thing here is that she's alive. She appears to be in, good physical and mental health, for the most part. I mean, just on the surface, but overall now they can take the time. I'm glad to see that she's apologetic about what happened, and hopefully her family can kind of mend that bridge and build an even stronger relationship than they had before. I'm assuming that
she was 14. I don't know if she has anything to be apologetic of. If she was like, manipulated and groomed. Well, if you were manipulated and groomed online, we don't know what happened. But I feel like to leave your home and go on the run with somebody you've never met in person, or maybe don't know that well, there has to be some mental manipulation happening. And she was 14.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was her fault. What I am saying is she did make the decision to consciously walk out of her home and leave. So that is
and not make any contact with her mother.
That's what I'm saying. So there is some personal choice there that's taking place, and I feel like maybe that's what she's apologizing for. And
I'm sure she feels so guilty.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why she put her mother through hell.
Do you think that they were living in this this town in Montana that was close to the U.S.-Canadian border in case something went down and they had to make a run for it?
Oh, Jesus. I don't even know. I don't know why, or maybe it was just a cheap town. I don't even know if that's where they had been the entire time. They might have been much closer.
Know. They haven't said, yeah.
So, I mean, it could have been maybe this guy had a job opportunity out there or something. Who knows?
Well, apparently, one of the neighbors had met this guy, briefly for the first time he met him. And the guy was like, oh, where are you from originally? And the neighbor said, oh, Phoenix, Arizona. And then the guy got real weird and never talked to him again, because obviously that's close to where Alicia was from. So it was almost like he didn't want this guy to see. So they kind of knew. It was we're on the run, we're together or whatever, and we're living a life, but we also know that she's people are searching for her.
Yeah, so I don't according to what witness said, she was saying, "I'll go back." You know what I mean? They
a threat. Yeah.
Yeah, he was aware of what was going on. They knew this. She clearly knew the situation. He obviously did, and that might be part of the reason they went to Montana. Nothing against anybody from Montana, but it doesn't seem like there's a ton going on out there.
No, it's pretty. 9,200 people population in that town. That's not a lot of people, right? Am I wrong about this?
No, it feels like you could go up there and disappear a little bit if you want to not be found. A place like that is probably a good location to start, where not too many people, they're on the internet, on social media out there, they're working, they're doing what they got to do. So overall, it is a happy ending for the most part. We'll get to the details. I'm sure there might be more information about it as we go along. If charges are eventually pressed against this individual for what his part in this, we'll find out. I mean, they already detained him, right? You said they let him go, though?
They let him go, yeah. No arrests have been made.
That doesn't mean much.
They say she's not going to be charged with, which I get, but also you have to take into account, right? She was gone for 3 years, and she knew that they were actively looking for her, actively putting resources into the search for her. I mean, there was billboards. This was a big case, and she was sitting there the whole time knowing that this was happening. So and then, your mother, on top, you can't even call her and be like, I'm alive, I'm okay, call from a private number or something just to give her peace of mind. This poor woman suffered, suffered every single day for those 3 years. So it's there's definitely a level of immaturity there, and a little level of, I think, selfishness. I mean, I'm just going to say it. There's people looking for you. Police, resources being put into you. Your mother is killing herself every day with stress, not sleeping, worried. And you're just kind of, and like you knew you were on the missing persons list because you had to request to be taken off of it. So it's not as if she was like, oh, I ran away and I didn't know that there was such an uproar happening. Like you knew.
Yeah. No, she definitely was aware of what was going on, which makes me wonder what's the details behind this? How much was she driving the ship here? Because we're automatically assuming that she was groomed. I mean, we don't know.
She was 14, so.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how old he was. We'll see what the situation. We'll see what the specifics were, and police are going to find out. Jig's up now. So glad she's okay. Best to her and her family. Hope it all works out. Hope they become stronger as a unit because of it. Okay, now on to the talk about families. Let's change it up real quick and talk about Lori Vallow. This morning, it was announced the jury came out, or the jury came back and ultimately decided that she would get life in prison for
Cheers to that.
Yep, for her role in the death of her children, Tylee and JJ. What was interesting, and I'm assuming because you didn't say anything that you didn't see this, but there's a clip going around now where she kind of gave her final statement before sentencing. And I'm paraphrasing here because it was pretty lengthy. They actually, the clip that I saw was sped up to fit in like a reel. But essentially what she was saying was, nobody can judge me. Jesus Christ knows what happened. JJ and Tylee have both visited me since they've passed. And they're both in a better place now. They're happy where they are. JJ is engaged. He has multiple responsibilities. He's very tall. He's hugged her and told her that he knows that she loved him up until the very minute before he passed, and that he doesn't blame her for anything. She didn't have a lot to say about Tylee. She just said she was in a better place now. She was no longer in pain. But she also kind of insinuated that, again, she had nothing to do with it, but there are other causes of death, like, overdoses of medications and suicide and accidental deaths. So she was kind of suggesting that, although they did pass, it was for other reasons than what the court was led to believe. So through and through, she's sticking with this whole narrative that, that they are spirits and they've passed on to better places. And I'm assuming that the people who were inhabiting their bodies at the time of their deaths was not actually them any longer. So she feels justified in what happened, and she's still, up until this very day, claiming that she had nothing to do with their deaths. You got to check out the video. It's interesting. She's looking great, by the way.
Are you being sarcastic?
Yes, totally. She looks horrible.
I hope she looks busted.
She looks horrible.
AF, man.
Yeah, she looks horrible. But you got to watch that video. Will fire you up. But
just hearing you talk about it got me a little, for her to say, he said he loved me and he understood, she's a banana split. She's a banana split Sunday with extra nuts, man. I literally could say this person's insane, but that would be letting her off too easy. I think she's full of shit that she actually sees them and she knows they're in a better place. I think she's full of shit, and this is her last ditch effort to plant some doubt in maybe the minds of the faithful, people who actually believe in religion and believe in God, and it's very important and integral to their lives. She's hoping to be able to speak to them because she cares very much about what people think about her. And at least she'll feel in their minds, maybe I can manipulate them. Maybe I can make them think that there's something out there, because it sort of supports the narrative they already want to believe. And maybe I'll get some benefit of the doubt from those people. But because she knows the general public at this point is lost. We know what you did. All your weird ass sexual text messages and talking about light and dark level. We all know what you did. We saw it. So yeah, you're I think she just wants to keep kind of like Chris Watts, how he kept popping out of the woodwork even after he went to prison, popping out of the woodwork and talking about how he looks at Cece and Bella's picture in his cell and cries. Nobody cares, man. We don't want to hear from you. The whole point of putting you behind bars forever is so that none of us in polite society have to see your face or hear your name. And she just wants to be constantly on that wheel of fortune of life, just not being out of the public eye and not being out of the public mind. And so honestly, I think I say we bury her. We never talk about her ass again. Bury her. I think she's dead and gone.
I think that's the plan. She's going to go to prison now. I'm sure she'll appeal it or whatever recourse she has. But overall, the court got it right. It seems like it was pretty decisive. She's going away for the rest of her life, and she'll be a dark spirit in a prison cell until she passes. So karma. coming back together. I mean, she got off light considering what happened to those children. So overall, it's the best they have out there. She's going to be behind bars for as long as she's breathing. Well, now we just got to wait for Chad Daybell, right? And I'm assuming he's probably going to have a similar outcome.
Oh, yeah, because if anything, we know that he was
probably even more involved.
Yeah, he was present.
Yeah.
When it happened. So he's definitely going to get the same sentence.
Yeah. So I wanted to cover it quick. We know we did what was it, 7 parts? 7 parts on Lori Vallow.
Yeah, I think so.
So obviously when that dropped today, we're not going to do a whole new episode on it. But we wanted to give you an update for anybody who, I don't know, didn't hear about it yet, that Lori Vallow has been convicted and been sentenced to life in prison.
And now she is dead and buried.
See you later, Lori.
Bye.
See you never.
Bye.
Any final words before we wrap this one up and record this week's episode of Crime Weekly?
No, I mean, I'm just...
Do you want to give people a hint at what the case is going to be? So if they're only YouTube people, they would see this.
I don't know how to give hints.
Why don't you just say the name of the case?
Well, that's not a hint.
Well, okay, or don't.
I don't...
It's Kyron Horman. There's your hint.
Oh my God.
There you go. It's Kyron Horman. So
yes, very requested, Kyron Horman. I didn't even know what I was getting into when I dove into this case. So
we're gonna get into it right now.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it right now.
We're gonna get into it right now. So make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on. This is YouTube only right here for Crime Weekly, but we also have an audio podcast that comes out on Friday. It's basically the audio version of these shows. So if you want to check those out, you're riding to work, you can't be on your phone, which you shouldn't be, then you can listen to the audio version, and then the YouTube version comes out on Sunday. So again, we appreciate the love and support. Everyone stay safe out there. We'll see you soon.
Bye.